relationships or your lack of relationships or your desire to have relationships? What is the, where would you like to begin? Anyone have a question? Anyone have an experience that you want to talk about?
Is it okay?
Sorry, Rohit.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Rima?
Yeah,
Yeah.
comment based on your use of the word desire
Uh-huh.
that started in the previous session for me that I was thinking about. I remember reading something by the Dalai Lama who said that happiness comes from desiring what you have,
Ah, beautiful way of putting it.
right?
Yes. So now you have taken um, your tendency to desire
Mhm.
and you've taken it and channeled it. I love that. Thank you. That was a great input. Desiring what you have. Lovely. You know,
Dalai Lama.
imagine desiring to be with you. Start there. Imagine desiring to, hang out with yourself, spend time with yourself. Imagine desiring that. Then imagine the person who you're with, your friend, whoever you're meeting, whether it's a lover or friend or whatever, and desiring and channeling your desire in that moment that I want to have the most incredible moment right here, right now with you.
Mhm.
And whatever that looks like, it doesn't mean it's got to be made into some grand, production. It can be whatever it's going to be. It can be the simplest. If you can find pleasure and happiness in the smallest things, the most natural, the most ordinary things, that's where it's at. The other stuff comes once in a while, like a trip going to some vacation spot. Okay, you go there once in a while. You don't go there every day, right? But every day you go to your shower. Can you make that special? Every day you sit down to have a meal. Can you make that special? Can you take every little everything you do and make it extraordinary? Can you make the ordinary extraordinary? It's an experiment to do. See what happens.
To
And
find
it's a true
transcendence
act of,
in the
huh?
ordinary. To find transcendence in the ordinary.
The ordinary, exactly. So I did this when I was writing my book, Loving Soulfully. I take a look at some of the pictures there, and you'll understand. Let me show you something that very few people know. Okay, I'll open up the copy and I'll show you some pictures where we'll talk about this. Um, all right. So I'm going to share screen here. So you see here a picture. What do you think you're looking at?
Stars?
You would think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what this is muck, dirty water, a puddle of dirty water where the sun is shining on it, right? And I've just taken the photograph of that little puddle of water and then just turned down the lighting in the settings that you get, for your camera. And that's it. That's what it is. This is beauty in the most ordinary, uneventful thing that you would have just walked right by. Let's look at another one. Similar. This was my experiment in finding the extraordinary in the ordinary.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. And so are all these others. Let me go to some more. It looks so amazing, but it's just a regular day walking at the park. There it was. Tweak the lighting a little bit, and there you have it. I don't know Photoshop. I don't know any fancy stuff. I don't know how to do that. All I know is that I can make it a little brighter. I can make it a little darker. I can give it a little sepia tone. Those few little things that you get in The basic tools you get with every Mac, yeah, that I know how. This was a spider web,
Wow.
and the water droplets were stuck on the spider web. So
Oh,
I encourage you to do the same thing, to find the ordinary, extraordinary in the ordinary, to take the little things in life and, take your own phone and just walk around and see what you can find. Find the things of beauty all around you. There's beauty everywhere. There's extraordinary stuff everywhere.
it's sort of like the difference between looking and seeing. We're looking continuously, but it's through basically through the intention to see. And if we form that intention to see and really just be with what is, there's all this beauty in there waiting to speak to us.
Yes, it's right. It's there. What it needs is someone to witness it,
Uh, exactly. It's
right?
almost like quantum physics. I'm sure you know about that, like the double slit experiment and stuff, right?
Go ahead, tell people what that is.
Oh, okay. Just very briefly, like quantum physics, everything is both like composed of, there's a particle aspect of reality and a wave aspect. And so, like, they've done this experiment. It's been duplicated many times. It's very well known. And what happens, this is called the observer effect, is that basically reality, it's like functioning as a probability. Okay, like where a particle is at any, like, I didn't say that right. Um, Whatever you're looking at exists as a wave until you observe it, and as soon as you observe it, it collapses into a particle. And so what it's saying is basically that everything out there is existing in potential as a probability, but until there's an observation, and as soon as and what the real fascinating thing about this is that what this actually means is that whatever we're observing is actually changed by our observation. And this is absolutely scientifically documented. And so when you really like contemplate the implications of this in terms of how we're interacting with reality on an ongoing basis, it's really quite fascinating.
So let's come back. Let's come to that. Let's go to the practical application of that. Thanks, George. That
Sure.
puts it in perspective. Um,
I never tried to explain that before, so I hope it was
Good job, and you did it very quick and succinctly. I love it. Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so when you can have a field of flowers in front of you, if you're not looking at them, they don't exist. You could walk by a beautiful ocean, and if you're not paying attention to it, it doesn't exist. It exists, as he was saying, as a wave, meaning as potential. But when you observe it, he said, it becomes a particle. Now you will begin to experience it. You will interact with it. To the degree that you observe it, to the depth at which you observe it, is the depth to which you will begin to stimulate its energy and feel its energy and take in its vibration. Okay? If you're in your head and you're in nature, nature will have very little impact on you. This is practical now. I'm taking the quantum physics and bringing it into your day to day life. The same with your food. The food will not nourish you. The shower will not freshen you. As to the degree that if you were present to it, right, you would interact with it. When you become the observer of it, what I've been saying all along is that we have the ability to unlock energy from matter by being present to it. Now, there's two ways in which we unlock energy. Everybody is unlocking energy in some way or other because that's how you live. All right. When you eat food, you're absorbing, taking out the energy from within that food. When you breathe air, you're taking out the energy from that air. When you have the sunshine, you're taking energy from that sunshine. But if you are present to that food, to that sunshine, to that air, you actually imbibe 10 times, maybe 100 times more energy than you would otherwise. When you are Unconscious, the amount of absorption of energy is minuscule. And when you are conscious, it is maximum. So what does it mean practically? People who are, let's say, for example, you're watching TV and you're eating your food, you will tend to eat a lot of food. You'll put on weight. It happens all the time. But become very mindful of your food. Sit with your, I'm not saying never sit with your at your TV and eat food. Please, I'm not trying to be ridiculous. Once in a while, I'll do the same. I'll do everything that I will tell you not to do. I'll do it once in a while. So don't worry. But for the most part, try and sit with your food and really pay attention to every smell, every taste, every bite. Really, really savor it. And then your absorption of that energy will become much higher. Your satisfaction levels will be more, and you will eat less. And you will lose weight. Just in case you want to do that. The same applies to everything. You will feel more energized. You will have more energy even at the end of the day, where most people are drained or burnt out. You will be still vibrant and alive. Yeah, so that effect is amazing. That's why I'm getting down to the bottom line. Can you be happy with whatever you've got, whatever is around you? Be satisfied with that. It's really an art. I was recently watched that movie, Eat, Pray, Love, and I was telling people about what I saw because it was a real refresher for me. I've been learning of this whole concept of la dolce vita, the sweet life. Who knows about this? The sweet life. In Italy, they have this idea that Americans don't know how to enjoy their life. And there's in the Eat, Pray, Love, there's a whole dialogue there at the barber shop where they talk about that. But it's all about people just think you got to work, 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 work. And then maybe you can have some permission to enjoy yourself over the weekend. My thing to you, and what I've also learned from these people, is that enjoyment is your birthright. It's your birthright to enjoy. Just learn how to do it in a healthy way. Learn how to do it in a way that is deeply spiritual, that is deeply satisfying. And then it's not about hedonism, which is the unconscious pleasure. This is about conscious pleasure. That's a whole different thing.
Is it okay if I throw something out real quick?
Pardon?
Can I throw something out real quick?
Sure.
Okay, I don't want to talk more. I don't want to take away from the time of anyone else, just so you know.
George, your voice is sounding really like it's underwater.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I just I'm a little hesitant because I don't want to take away from anyone else's time to talk. But what's coming to me is just that um, it's sort of like being a what we talk about, the observer effect and all that, and what you said, the dulce vita. Uh, that remind me of Dead Poets Society, Carpe Diem, if you know that movie,
Yeah.
But sort of like being able, and this is art for this. I hardly can do this the way I'd like to because I'm so analytical. I break everything down, but instead of that, when we're breaking things down and we're in our mind, we're treating things as an object, and so if we're as long as we're treating things as an object, then we're not going to experience the dulce vita. But it's like being able to be with things, somehow do what we need to do, but at the same time be with things, honoring them in their essence. And like giving that everything that we do, whether it's another human being, the work we do, a walk in nature, but really honoring it in its essence, and trying to form the kind of intention to do that as much as we can. And I've noticed in my relationships, instead of projecting, because I've studied communication and sales and all that at great length, but my relationships are way better now if I just like give people quality attention. than they ever were before when I was just sort of projecting some sort of thing that I learned.
So
So
quality
that's what,
attention, who'd like to comment on that one?
yeah.
It's a great term. I love that. Who enjoys quality attention? Anybody here? Nobody? Nobody likes it? Come on. Are you
Everybody,
listening?
everybody loves quality attention, of course.
Do you
No,
like
it's
to have someone
great.
who listens to you, or do you want to be with someone who is, oh, yeah, go on, keep talking, keep yakking away while I'm watching the TV?
No, everybody likes quality attention. I don't know anybody that doesn't, but hey,
We got a thumbs up from Swati. We got a thumbs up from Ariel. All right. Um, Anybody else? Orsi, Isa, Kelsey. Love to get your inputs as well. So quality attention, yes. Why is quality attention so important? What's the big deal? Why does it matter so much to us?
because you're being acknowledged.
Why does that matter to us?
It's a core need to feel valued.
Yeah.
We do feel valued, we do feel acknowledged. But let's go a little deeper. I agree with all of what you're saying.
But it shows that we care about that one.
We care, yes. So here's the thing that happens. When you pay attention to someone, you open up a certain energy flow. You open up your experience of that thing now is like you're in a deep connection or interaction with this thing. It could be, as I said earlier, your food or drink or anything else, or it could be a human being or an animal who you're being with. When you are deeply present with them, something opens up that allows energy to flow between the two. That energy then leads to all the other things you're describing: feeling validated, feeling understood, feeling heard, feeling seen, feeling accepted, feeling loved, all of that. But it's this flow of energy that is so magical, that is the underlying invisible thing that is actually happening. And it's what George was describing when they did these observations. When the person observed the wave, it became a particle. That experience of the change of frequency is what is happening here. You are engaged in something that is very akin to a what kind of device did they use, George, when those
They actually had like this sort of machine, I guess, that um, uh, it took pictures of um,
I think I know what it's called. It's called
a particle accelerator. I think it's
particle
called a
accelerator.
particle accelerator. Yeah.
Particle accelerator. Got it. Yes. So we have that ability. We have the ability to do what that big, huge machine called the particle accelerator does. We impact matter with our presence. We impact another human being or an animal with our presence. It's a powerful force. It's a very powerful force. And especially if you do that without any judgment, without any mind stuff coming into it, it's even more powerful. It's more pure. You have a particle accelerator built inside you, a nuclear reactor that can split an atom and take out the energy from it. What an incredible being you are.
Wow. It's beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful. That says that what you just said right there. That proves something, that we're all magical beings. We're
We-
totally magical. We're not programmed to think that way, and we're not programmed to realize how magical we are.
Okay, George, let me put it one step further. If you want to know where is the magic wand, if you're a magical being, then you should have a magic wand, right?
Yeah.
The magic wand is your ability to focus in on something, to be present to something. That is your magical superpower. So when you are truly deeply immersed in something, you will notice that you go into a space of timelessness. That is when your magic is on. So that could be as simple as touching someone, holding their hand. It could be holding someone's hand. You could be looking into their eyes. You could be kissing someone. You could be eating a fruit. You could be in a shower. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you can be fully present, you will open up the doorways to a magical world that exists within you and all around you. There is a magical world all around us and inside us. If you want the keys to that world, this is the key. Your ability to be fully present. So think of it like your awareness is going from here, where it's into everything, and now it's coming in and zooming in to a point. At that point, you then enter into another dimension. You have that ability. And in a relationship, because if this topic is more about relationships, that's what happens. When people are not present to each other and they're in their heads, they end up in conflict. This causes conflict. Always. The more you depend on it, the more conflict it will cause. Because you will disagree with the other person. You will think you are right. You will think you know. You will think you are all these things. Your ego will get rustled up about stuff. You don't care about me. I'm not important to you. Who do you think you are? Bah, 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 and all the drama will happen, right? Everyone's seen it, been there, done that. But be in your heart. And being in your heart means, this is a very abstract term, so you need to understand it. It means being deeply present. It means turning everything you do in life into a meditation. That's when the magic happens. I had a particular thing that I wrote about this. Let me see if I can find it. Meanwhile, if there's anyone who'd like to say something, would love to hear you.
I got just a 30-second soundbite. Is from my own experience, and there's a lot of wisdom out there in many traditions that talk about this. But what, and Rohit mentioned this word just a few seconds ago, be without judgment. What kills for relationships, what kills and destroys the magic is judgment. And
Yep.
what's hard about that is it's so instinctive. We have such an instinctive, we judge so quickly and so instinctively. But I tell you from my own personal life experience, plus all the sacred scriptures, that judgment, it kills relationships. I just thought that was worth sharing.
Absolutely. I took a vow one time, and I maintained it now for over 30 years, to not judge, to not judge anyone, including myself. Would you like to try that? Try it. It's the best thing you'll ever do. I heard that statement, judge not lest you be judged, from the
That's right.
Bible. I said, hey,
Uh,
let me try that. I don't like being judged. What if I
yeah,
were to do that and take it on, like really take it on?
it's
I
a
did.
really hard thing to live out too.
But
I
it's
just
not. I've found many ways in which to actually make that happen. So if you're, I know you expressed an interest in the course I'm starting up, George.
yes.
And any of you who are interested, I'm actually teaching people how to do that, how to stop that critical self, critical mind that you've got, your inner critic, the bully within, as I call it, how to stop that, how to shut that down, like really shut it down. Like that.
It's valuable teaching.
And once you do that, now you open up the doorway to really experiencing a whole other dimension. So, yeah, in Loving Soulfully, my book that I was mentioning to you earlier, um, I wrote, Love longs to break free from the prison walls of rules, conditions, emotions, rituals, religious and social institutions that have stifled her for thousands of years. Love is free like the wind, abundant like the air, and resplendent like the sun. Love is all around you in everything and everyone. Like the wind, Love caresses every part of your body. Like the air, she infuses every cell of your being. Breathe her delightful energy into you. Fill yourself with her ambrosial presence. Allow yourself to soar on the currents of infinite love. Let her take you to places you have never imagined. What I'm talking about is the presence of this energy all around you, inside you and all around you. It is here, and you can tap into it free. The greatest drug of all, the greatest intoxicant of all, the greatest um, thing of all is here inside you and all around you for free. Everything you've ever desired is here within it. So I ask you, taste it, experience it. And it will require your presence. It will require your attention, 100%. Dive into it. You know, on most things, people try to be safe. You go to a pool of water, you want to be safe, you want to swim. But this path is a path where you put aside all your concerns of safety and you dive in deep. If you really want to know, if you really want the treasure that lies within you, you have to let go your fears and dive deep. Dive deep. Your ego is going to feel like it's drowning. Your ego is going to feel like it's going to lose everything. Oh my God, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And you've got to be able to reassure it. It's okay. We're here to be annihilated. Annihilation is the key. Annihilation of all that you think you are and all that earlier George brought up this thing about goals and this and that. Yeah, annihilation of even that, annihilation of everything, and coming to the point where I write here in Loving Soulfully, where you become the embodiment of love. You become the embodiment of spirit. Make love with everything and everyone. Make love with your eyes, nose, ears, words, and touch. Make love with your mind, heart, and body. Make love with everything you do. Make love your God, your religion, and your meditation. Make love your priority, life purpose, and reason for living. Make love your inspiration, ecstasy, and passion. Make love your greatest possession. Make love your true identity. I'm not talking about love as in a person. I'm talking about the energy that is all around you and inside you. That energy is love. And it is that energy that moves through you to a partner and through that partner to you. But you don't need a partner. You can experience it regardless, even when you're by yourself, especially when you're by yourself. Kelsey's got hands up. You have a question, Kelsey?
Yeah, I have a question. This is in reference to something you shared just a little bit ago. I don't want you to have to backtrack though.
It's okay.
Um, so,
There's just the flow of things. It's nothing specific. So go ahead.
so basically, like, I was gonna ask you, what do you think is the real reason we resist being in a meditative state in the present moment? Because I think we all know by now that it's necessary and it's beautiful, and the
Yeah,
science is behind it, and we've all been exposed to meditation in some way. So
right.
what do you think? What do you think that resistance is within us? What do you think the main thing is?
You know, the only way you can give up one thing for another is by truly becoming addicted to it. Okay?
Mm,
We are addicted to our minds. We are addicted to our thoughts. We're addicted to this world. We are hung up on this. And so when we do come to meditation and we do hear about presence, we put our toe in the water of meditation and we feel it a little bit, but not too much. We don't dive in. We don't fully let go. We don't step away from it all. We're not willing to give, we don't give it our all. When you give it your all, you will experience it fully and the world will fall away from you. You will no longer have the attachments that you had. the desires that you had, the concerns, the worries, gone. I mean, I should not say the word gone. They'll be there, but at a periphery, where they were 90% of your life and 10% was meditation. Now 90% will be that inner state, and 10% will be your worries and fears, the human experience that you're having, because those will go parallel. It's never going to go away. I know people who are supposedly enlightened and who never supposedly feel any of the human stuff that we feel. To me, that's wonderful for them. It's an unrealistic for most of us. We don't quite know how to get there. This part, I can tell you, is true because I've struggled, honestly, not been able to meditate for years. For years, I couldn't. And I realized there were a number of mistakes I was making. One, I was trying too hard. I had to learn over time that my struggling with meditation, I was applying the rules of the world to this other world, and they didn't work. In this world, when you want to get somewhere, you got to work hard. You got to do stuff. You got to really be at it. You got to be determined, focused, all of that stuff. In the world of meditation, that doesn't work. While I told you that it's something you need to make a large part of your life, you need to be able to allow it to happen, not force it. It's like falling asleep. You can't make yourself fall asleep. You allow yourself to drift into sleep. It's the same thing, falling in love. You can't force it. It happens. It's a happening. It's not a doing. So in the same way, meditation happens. You go, you do the process, but then you relax into it. You don't struggle. You don't do it harder and stronger and tougher. That doesn't work. You relax into it. You allow it to take over. Then it happens. Now you keep going back there as much as you can. Now you try to integrate it into everything you do. That's why I find some of the mindfulness is very useful as well. Try to integrate it into everything you do. And soon you're doing it so much of the time. You're doing it in all your daily stuff so that it becomes so much a part of you that now you can't imagine life without it. Now you're on the other side. Now it is becoming who you are. It is taking over. What is taking over? Your soul is awakening. That's what meditation does. It's awakening that soul. Because when I say your soul is awakening, that peace you're feeling is coming from your soul. That joy you're feeling, that feeling of equanimity you're having, that's all coming from your soul. It's not from your mind. That now starts to become more and more and more of who you are. In other words, you start to become more and more soul infused or soulful. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
What would you say to the person who, um, like the key word here is surrender? What would you say to the person who, like, wants to surrender to a relationship, but like there's something in them that just doesn't want to do that, and they can feel that something in them, they would like to dissolve it, but they just can't seem to do it, and so in the end they just have to walk away from the relationship. And would you say that that's an ego problem, or maybe it could be like sort of a destiny thing where they just weren't really in the end meant to be with that person? But then it becomes especially problematic if this is a recurring pattern in their lives.
Yeah.
What comes up for you with that?
A lot of folks do that. They think, oh, this is not my soulmate. This is not the person I'm meant to be with. And they keep hopping around from one place to another to another. It reminds me of a story that is there in the Srimad Bhagavatam of this dwarf who comes up to the king, and this king was supposedly the king of the world, and he says to the king, I want some charity. And the king says, what can I give you? And he says, give me 3 steps of land. And the king says, what? Is that all you want? He says, Ask me for anything. Ask me for a palace. Ask me for, horses, cows. What do you want? I'll give you anything you want. Gold, jewels. What do you want? He says, no, I only want 3 steps of land. He says, because if a person is not happy with 3 steps of land, he cannot be happy if he gains the entire world. So the king says, all right then. He says, first step. This is a mystical dwarf. So he puts the first step and he covers the entire planet with the first step. And then the second step, then the second step, he covers the entire universe. And now the king says, "There's no third. Where I have nothing left to offer you." He says, "Yes, you do. Your head." And he places his foot on the king's head. Third step. The point being, when you can take everything you have, it's this poem of Rudyard Kipling, and there's a beautiful line in there. I'll read it to you.
This is the poem called If, I bet, right?
If
Yeah,
correct,
yeah,
Kipling.
yeah.
If you could place your, if you, one sec, I sometimes don't get the exact thing, so let me quote it exactly. There's a lot in here. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can hear the truth you've spoken twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools. I don't know what the word knaves means, but or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, I guess that's dice, and lose and start again at your beginning and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will. So he goes on and on like this about certain qualities and virtues that we need to develop. This is his message to his son, telling him, so this is what surrender is, being able to offer your all. And when you love someone, you offer to them your all. If you come with less than all, then it's not love. If you come and well, I'm going to hold back some of my heart and I'm going to give you some of my heart, okay. Then you wonder why doesn't it really work? What's missing out here? Because you're not willing to give your all. And you may say, well, the other person, don't look at the other person. You do your part. You love with all that you've got. Remember that love is not a thing or a commodity. It's not the app. This is not people believe in the. This is what I call it. I call it the apple pie theory of love. That if I give away half my apple pie, then I have only half an apple pie left, right? Or if I give away all my apple pie, then I got no apple pie left. So if I give all of myself, if I surrender all of myself, then I'll be nothing. Well, be nothing. That's the point. Because into nothing will come everything. What does it mean? It means, yes, there needs to be a partner who's willing to do this work with you, where you give your all and that person is also willing to give their all. Don't play with people who are less than full out, right? And when you play full out, give all. Be willing to be hurt. Be willing to be drowned in that love. And know that you will survive, as you always have. Be willing to surrender everything, knowing that when you surrender everything, you become like an empty cup. And an empty cup will receive all the blessings of the divine. Your love is not for a human, your love is for the divine. That person is the representation of the divine here on this earth. Your love is for God. When you begin to see it like that, it will not matter who leaves you or who comes back. Whoever is willing to receive that love, whoever is willing to play at that level of surrender, of that level of love, that's the person you want to be with. Because they're ready to enter into the arena where you give all of yourself and willing to lose everything. Am I making any sense or not? I don't know. Tell me.
Total
Mm.
sense.
Let me hear from some of the people here. Orsi, Swati, Isha, anybody, Ken, Ariel. I haven't heard from any of you.
Sorry, I'm cooking at the same time. I'm just listening on
All
my
right.
my
All right.
headset. That's why I haven't said
Anyone
anything.
care to say something? Sure, no problem.
I don't know, Rohit, if you called me out, but there was a quick phone call that I had to take, so I was mute. So.
If you haven't heard, then you won't be able to respond. So,
Okay, so I'll just pass then.
okay.
Yeah. Sorry
Anyone
about
who
that.
heard what I was saying and was able to get it would like to add something to that or share something around that or disagree with something. I don't care.
Well, I'm just going to say, well, I'll take a stab at it. So if what you were saying was, so if you're, I don't know if I can put it in words. I don't know if I can put it in words, but
Trust the feeling inside you that is coming up.
well, I'm thinking if you're thinking about the love that you have inside, let's say for yourself or for somebody else, if you have the love that you have for yourself and you're it's coming from God. If you're viewing it from that perspective, then when you're loving somebody else, you're actually loving God at the same time, is what I'm picking up on.
You got it.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Really speaking, you're a conduit of that love. Love, when you begin to see that, so most people think that love is a particular person, right? And what happens when that person leaves or dies or something else? In time, it will happen that you fall in love again. And when that happens, you'll say, oh my God, this is the most incredible thing I've ever experienced. It will be like you fell in love for the first time. And you'll wonder, how is it possible? At that time, I felt I was in love. This time, I feel I'm in love. You'll try to compare. Was it better? Was it worse? Your mind is trying to do a number there. The truth is that you found someone with whom you could fully open your heart. Your conditions, your criteria melted away, and you allowed yourself to feel. Actually, love was there all around you all the time. Love was in you, love was outside you, love was in the other person. But the two of you got together, put down your walls, let go your barriers and your expectations, and said, you know what? I'm ready to love you. And then you opened up to each other. And in that moment, you felt this incredible thing. Now the question is, how come it felt great then? It feels great now. It will feel great every time you fall in love. My only understanding that I have come up with in the course of my writing and the insights that I've gained through that writing is that love is not a person. Love is an energy. It is the energy of the divine. It is the energy of God that flows through us to another and through the other to us. So therefore, as you said, Michelle, rightly, it is God loving God. We are just the medium through which that is occurring. We are there. And so now, if you do not know how to honor that love energy, it will leave you. If you bring your head into it, it will leave you. But if you can keep your head out of it over a sustained period of time, it will stay with you because you have learned how to honor it. It cannot be honored by your mental constructs. These are the antithesis of love.
You explains a lot the way you explained it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got something I wrote about that, which I'd like to share. About how mind and love cannot coexist.
Like matter and antimatter.
Like matter and, that was a great way of putting it.
Or like particle and wave.
Same thing. Okay, here it is. Let me share it with you. Love does not mind. The egoic mind is frail and fearful, unable to grasp the true nature of love. It constructs walls, ideals, and norms to hold on to love. It concocts conditions, fears, and mistrust to control love. It exploits religion, society, and tradition to regulate love. The trickster mind contaminates love. It twists your thoughts, bewilders your emotions, it manufactures all kinds of untruths. It doubts your lover, creates imaginary scenarios, and incites conflict. Sooner or later, love finds a way to liberate herself from the mind's control, to tunnel through the corridors of your soul, to break free from confining relationships and breathe this fresh air of her natural sweetness.
That's beautiful.
So it's important to know that to the degree that your mind is at, whenever there is conflict, watch, it is going to be your mind that is at play. It is causing the conflict. It is, you will hear things like, you should have done that, you shouldn't have done that. Or you'll hear things like, your mind will be telling you stuff like, why did he do that? You should, and again, it's all about control. It's all about fear. It's all about doubt. And those are the frequency of what I call darkness. Darkness inevitably tries to destroy love. Darkness tries to destroy light, but it cannot unless you let it. You are the one that is the deciding factor. In fact, darkness can never destroy light. It is always light that destroys darkness. But you become the pivotal point through your choices. If you allow the darkness to permeate, and what I mean by that, I mean if you allow your ego, you allow your thoughts, your shoulds, your should nots, your control and your fears and your doubts to overtake love, to overshadow love, then you will lose the love of your life. You may find, that's why I tell people, I say, I don't care how great a love you found. If you cannot do conflict gracefully, then love will not stay with you. You will lose the very person who you fell in love with. Love has to be honored. It is a very sacred, so to love is a very sacred thing. Love is a spiritual path. Love is a spiritual path. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have a partner. Don't get me wrong. You may have a partner, good for you. It doesn't matter. That's only going to challenge your realization. It's going to shake up your foundations. It may, make you realize you're not as cool as you think you are. It'll burst your bubble, if anything. But the experience of love, I'm talking about the energy that is all around you, that is inside you. That energy, that is love. And that everyone can have. And whether that is with nature, whether that is with yourself, whether that is with an animal, whether it is with a friend, it really doesn't matter. A relative, a lover, doesn't matter. That's not important. It's feeling it. It's feeling the intensity and quality of that in its pure essence. So become that kind of lover where you love everyone. I was reading the story of a saintly fellow called Eknath, Maharashtrian. He was taking water from the river Ganga and walking hundreds of miles with this water to a sacred space in south of India called Rameshwaram. And he was going to bring this water and offer it to Shiva, the Shivlinga that is there at the Rameshwaram temple. Now, this offering of water, of sacred water from the river Ganga in the north of India, which is hundreds of miles away, he'd been walking with it for days, months, he'd been walking with it. On the way, there was a forest, and in that forest, he came across a donkey who was dying, starving for lack of water. There's no water nearby. His mouth was foaming. He needed water desperately. He took that water and gave it to the donkey. And someone said to him, he said, "What have you done? You brought this water from hundreds of miles away as part of your journey to this sacred place in the south of India, Rameshwaram, to make this offering. And now you've gone and given it to a donkey." Eknath turns around and says, if I do not find my God within this donkey, then even if I went to that sacred place, I would not find my God over there. That is the vision that one needs to have, to find the divine in everything. As we started off talking about finding the extraordinary in the ordinary. So what are the ordinary things you do that you could transform and make magical, bring magic into your life? Because that magic, that is the divine, that is God. What can you do on a daily basis? I'd like each of you to contemplate that. What can you do on a daily basis? What are some of the day-to-day things you do, your rituals, your little, morning habits? Is it your cup of coffee or tea? Is it your, where can you sit for a moment and experience that? Who would like to? I'd like to hear from everyone now.
I just want to say I like the donkey thing.
Okay. Yeah, I just heard that this morning. It's a beautiful story.
I like it.
I cannot find my God here in this donkey, then I cannot find my God in that
I
sacred.
like that. You should send that out to everyone. It's good.
Yeah. So
So what
where are
I'm
you?
thinking about, if that's okay, is how can I bring love and like really presence to feel the love when it's things that I like have to do every day, like let's say like math. Like I just started my math class again. And I know that that is where I am most likely to lose that sense of like love in everything. So how?
Yeah. I'm sorry I fail on this question. I know how challenging it can be. Math, for example, is like me having to do my taxes, which I still need to do.
I do an extension every year, so yeah.
Yeah, but it's about your logical mind is so heavily activated at that time that it's very hard to touch that space. So if somebody knows how to do it, I open the floor up, anyone who has found a way to do it, because I know even scientists have learned how to do it. They have learned to come into this moment where inspiration strikes them. And usually they're not doing anything at that time. They're kind of like taking a break or something. Usually when they're at it, nothing's happening. And then suddenly they're on a break. Newton's sitting under a tree, and then the apple falls, and suddenly just, well, what was Newton doing under the tree? That's not a science lab. He wasn't writing a math equation. He was sitting on a tree doing nothing. That's usually where it strikes you, inspiration. But yeah, Swati, you were about to say something.
No, that definitely resonates with me a lot. It's like it's the same with me. Like my ideas, I'm in a scientific field. I'm a researcher, so we are required to be creative, and that's how I am. Like naturally, like it's the curiosity. It's almost like being a detective. It's like there's all these mysteries that you're looking at and trying to solve, like putting the pieces of the puzzle together and everything. And that's what happens to me very often. Like I don't get my ideas, scientific ideas, when I'm like working away at the bench, or like when I'm writing a proposal or something like that. It comes to me when I'm swimming or taking a walk in nature or just hiking, like all of a sudden, or just taking like a relaxing shower after a long day at work. That's when my ideas come. And so that the mind has to be at a certain in a certain state for you to be able to really like listen or kind of tune into those ideas that are coming in. They may not even be yours. It could be guided by spirit or something. But just for you to be able to listen to them and to tune in, it requires us to go in a certain state of mind. It cannot be when you're preoccupied with like 10 different things. Yeah.
Swati, that's great. Thank you so much for that. I've always meant to ask someone who is a scientist, is that theory of mine correct, that it works like that? And
it does. And I think it works like that. I was really like, this was a short video that I watched after like Michael Jackson passed away. And I know there's a lot of controversy around that person, but with whatever. But I do think that he was the greatest like musician, and it's just his energy, his aura was just so powerful, and he was definitely like guided by divine, like because of the beautiful music that he brought into this world. And so he was saying the same thing, and which was like in an interview, he said that, oh, if I sit at the piano and say, oh, I'm going to compose music, it's not going to happen. Those like Billie Jean or whatever like music he composes, like, oh, that was when I was like driving somewhere. Nobel Prize winners, I've read their books, and Carey Mullis, who got the Nobel Prize for PCR, he said the same thing. He's like, I got this idea when I was driving through the mountains in California. So I'm like, it works for so many different professionals. Like it doesn't have to be science or art, but I think it's a common theme that you find in so many places. Yeah.
Swati, I've had the same observation from the same documentary, and it's a different piece of that documentary.
Right.
I'm amazed that you picked it up. That same documentary about Michael Jackson, he would say, the first part you said, I don't get it when I'm playing my piano, but he gave another example. He says, where I do get it is when I'm laying down in my treehouse.
Yeah.
There, looking up at the sun, and then suddenly a tune will come to me, and I'll get the first few notes of it, and I'll go running into my studio, and then I'll expand. The whole thing will start to unpack. I've had the same experience. It's like a seed. You get a little seed. The seed could be a word, it could be a sentence. And then you go back and say, tell me more about this. And then it just starts coming out and flowing through. Once I had this thought, it was Valentine's Day, I remember. And I was walking around in the marketplace in India, and it was very hot outside. I don't know why, it was only February. But anyway, I was just taking my break from work, and I had this thought: love is the greatest lie that's ever been told. I said, what? That's bizarre. What is this thought that just came into my head? And I said, there's something strange about this. Let me go. I found the closest coffee shop, and I sat down. I used to have a little notepad in those days. I didn't have these phones, cell phones and all that. Little notepad and a pen that I used to keep with me. Wow. And then page after page after page, the explanation of that came out as to how the way we have understood love is faulty.
Yeah.
And then it is explained to me again. And it's like no corrections, no mistakes, just like a flow of thoughts and stuff that was explaining that idea to me. So I just
your writing is very much like that. It just comes through in your writing. It's so beautiful. Like it's definitely guided, and yeah.
I can only tell you this, that there is a power we have to tap into a higher intelligence and wisdom, and it's there with all of us. I know that if you may think, oh, this guy's special, no, sorry, I'm a damn failure that tried for 10 years to meditate and couldn't and gave up. Okay, so that's my claim to fame. Right? But it's from those ashes of giving up that you begin to, and you persevere. That's the only thing you require, is keep at it, because this is possible for all of us. There's none of us here that is better or worse. So please don't, let your mind cheat you into that thinking, because that's delusion. All right, sorry. Anybody else want to share? I love that. Thank you, Swati. Does anyone else have an experience that they'd like to share? Because we are coming to the end, and we're going to wind up. So any personal experiences that have led you to that deeper feeling of love, of yourself, of inspiration, guidance? I hope, Ariel, that you will find someone who will show you how to do math in a more in more of a flow.
Thank you. Yeah, it might just be one of those things, because it's so like there's one answer like for certain equations. I think it's because it's not really allowing you to tap into that inner knowing.
Right. And then again, there have been mathematical geniuses who did exactly that.
Right. Yeah.
But maybe they were at a more advanced level and you're at a beginning level. And at the beginning level, there may not be that much room for play. But I think that at the advanced level, they were super creative. I remember seeing a movie, I think it had Anthony Hopkins in it. And he was a mathematician. I don't know if I brought this.
Oh, the other movie that comes to mind is The Man Who Knew Infinity. That's the The Indian, what's his name?
Uh,
Gosh, I
scientist? The scientist?
yeah, Ramanujan,
Ramanujan.
the mathematician. And
Yes, yes,
so,
yes.
yeah, he talks about these
He had
equations, and
completely. He would say the goddess is
goddess is
explaining all
working
this
through
to me.
me. Yeah. And
Yeah.
he would know the derivation, he would know the answer. And when he came to the West, it was his teachers and professors were like, derive it. He's like, I don't know how to derive it. And so that was like really beautiful message in that movie, where, you know, the East has like so much wisdom and we tap into our intuitive wisdom, but the West really knows how to look like, you know, just it's more grounded in the practicality of things. Like, no, you've got to be able to, like, you know, step by step, like, arrive at this answer, you know. So it kind of like helped, like he was forced to do that when he came here. So but that's the intuitive connection that he had, like, with spirit or whatever. But yeah.
Hmm.
You know, just about everything is capable of being reframed. And math is only a window into eternity, into infinity, into what is real, what is true.
That's a great way of putting it, Rima. Thank you. It's
But
a
Ariel,
window into
yeah.
eternity. Wow. Okay, Swati, you want to take that on?
No, Ariel, I kind of share your concern, because, you know, I always, like, I know I love doing science, and that's what I do for a living. But I'm a biologist. I enjoyed studying biology, chemistry, even physics, but I never got math, because I'm like, what do I do with this? Like, how is it applicable? And like, it just seemed very dry for me. Like, I got my straight A's, but it never, like, it just like, I never had that pull towards it, like for like biochemistry, or, you know, it was just, I couldn't understand the
So
application.
what Swati said was Rima said was actually very interesting, that it is a
Yeah,
window into eternity. Now
yeah,
the thing is, not everybody knows how to unlock the window,
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah,
right?
I just couldn't.
You have, I will recommend to you, Ariel, that somehow, somewhere there is a key, and there will be someone who will help you unlock that window. But it is possible, and what Rima said is 100% true.
True,
I
yes.
know there are people before us who have done exactly that. They have tapped into that window. So keep your hopes up. You will find somebody who can help you tap into that and find your way into that flow, because I know it is absolutely possible.
Thank
Right?
you.
I
I appreciate that. I do want to say that thankfully, this is, I think, the last math class I have to take. So,
The window is closing.
Windows closing, right?
and thankfully, it's a different kind of math class than I've ever taken before. It's behavioral statistics. So at least there's like an actual application that I can see for it. You know, it's like understanding behaviors. Like,
Right. Now, if
it's all
some of
right.
you aren't on my mailing list, please put down your email. You can do a private message to me in the chat if you want to keep it private, and I'll just don't know. At least I'll get you on the mailing list so you're reminded next week and the weeks coming up. We got to wind up here. We are over time, so we're going to end for now. But please write down before you hang up. Uh, Go ahead and just type down your email. Some of you aren't on the mailing list. I'm sure of that. So, all right, for the rest of you, good night. And I will see you next week. Bye.
Good night. Thank you.
I know.
Alexa, turn on nightstand.
Okay.
That was a good meeting.
Thanks, George.
Good thing.
I'm just winding up over here.
Oh, okay.
Good night.
Take care.
Thanks. Just about to hang up, George, but I just want to let you know that try and do something with your audio and video. We'd love to hear you better. It's really been sounding like you're underwater.
Oh, okay. I
It kind of like
appreciate
a strain.
that.
Because you have great things to say, and I'd love your comments to be heard properly. So if you can get work on your audio and video a bit, please, it would
Yeah,
really be helpful to everyone for you to participate in a full-blown way.
sure. I will definitely do that.
All right. Thanks, George. Good night.